We know how much you guys love listening to our stories, but did you know you can also listen to more stories, books, and podcasts on audible.com?
Say what?
Listeners of Storylords might enjoy the comedy sci-fi series Dungeon Crawler Carl. It's about a regular guy named Carl who's thrown into a big old dungeon crawl to save humanity from aliens, which are real. Do your own research.
And I've been listening to the High Republic Star Wars series for months now. And I've been listening to...
I am partial to iRobot
Okay, go, your turn.
because it helps me set my boundaries with organic beings.
I like to read magazines that judge people's decorating tastes. Oh yes, okay, you go. Do they do those?
Audible lets you listen to your favorite series while you're driving or just chilling at home at any speed you want. And there's tons of books and types of literature to choose from. I like the book. That's audibletrial.com/storylords. Sign up for a trial today and help support your boys, the Storylords. Aww.
Story Squires to Storylords, the prompt-based fiction podcast with 2 prompts, 3 stories, and infinite laughter. I hope you're all right, but you can't answer, so I don't care. I'm Rich Masters, and with me as always is Josh Henderson.
Oh, hey, you really sped through that intro.
I did.
You're like the Micro Machine Man.
It's a great reference.
It's very, very on the pulse.
Timely.
And Jeff Pennington.
Fuck you all!
Oh, he's fucking... He's that kind of guy.
I'm evil Jeff.
Jeff with a G.
The evilest Jeff.
That is evil.
G off. This week, our prompts were Malfunctions and Rebirths that were by the same person. I think it was Heavy Metal Cat.
Yeah, it was Heavy Metal Cat.
And people would give Heavy Metal Cat shit for Bogart in the prompts. So if this is a shit episode, it's Heavy Metal Cat's fault and not ours.
I like this system. I like having a scapegoat
Yeah.
for problems.
I mean...
That's fun.
I wrote one of the best stories I've written this season on one of these prompts. So I don't know how we can give a serious plus and minus for the prompts. Only joking, V.
I don't...
Or is he?
Or am I?
I guess we'll find out. Or we won't.
Yeah, so Josh, you're going
I definitely
first.
did these prompts. Yeah, I definitely put these prompts
Good.
in. They really were a big part of the story this week.
Me too.
Well, the malfunction is not having the prompts in the story, and the rebirth is creating a new story without the prompts.
Yeah, that's genius.
Thanks. Fuck you, Heavy Metal Cat.
You know what? I'm just glad he's Heavy Metal Cat and not country music cat.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, liberal use of the N-word.
I'll guarantee you right now there will be no country or western in this story.
No.
Thank God.
I like to think that country and western cat is like a real douchebag who liberally uses the N-word, and Heavy Metal Cat hates his cousin. Like,
They're
despises him. Yeah.
Wait, why does Heavy Metal Cat... Oh, they're cousins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought Heavy Metal Cat just hated his cousin for no reason.
80s love ballad cat is just, like, not bothered about anything.
That's their aunt.
It's got a mullet.
Riveting radio.
Josh, you're up. Let's go to Daranos.
All right. I gotta read. Okay, my story this week is called Moiter on the Orient Express.
Nice.
It has a lot to do with the story. Okay. Queen Axewound lay on the hard stone ground shivering. She didn't know how long she had been there. Time under the ground was unmeasurable. She twitched as her eyes fell heavy, down, down, down. As she did, Her new arm faded out of existence. The bright green dimmed like a living room light when it was time to watch a movie on Netflix and then bang your girlfriend and or boyfriend and or whomever.
It's just time to bang.
Couch cushion.
Whoever you like to stick it, whatever into.
If you're the vice president, yes, Rich.
Yes, for couch.
Exactly.
Look,
Topical.
Who here among us hasn't seen a sexy couch? I too Netflix and chill. I have seen a titty, and I must say, I wouldn't mind seeing more.
This guy knows what he's talking about.
It's making some bold statements.
Axwound's stumpy stump began to itch as she reflexively scratched at the now mostly closed wound. The itch could not be subsided. It was more itchy than that time I Netflix and chilled Yo Mama all night long. And I didn't know what kind of all-you-can-eat crab buffet she had packing down in her meat box. It was like Lobster Fest had a conjoined twin with Brewfest on account of the yeastiness. That's disgusting.
But true.
If you would like to become a patron, just cancel it now, because that was terrible. If that made you gag, just know that I too gagged. If I had to experience it, you sure as hell are going to hear about it. Get real!
Get real.
Axe groaned as she began to scratch the skin raw. Blood accumulated under her long nails as she was now scratching the stump like a rabid animal.
Ew.
What the fuck? She whispered. Soon flesh began to slough off of her stump. The skin that had been healed over began to open itself up like the petals of a flower. Oh no! Axe shouted. As you do.
Uh-oh!
Uh-oh! The flesh bloomed with a sickly sweet and yet rotten smell. Axe gagged as her revulsion began to manifest itself up to her esophagus. Suddenly, a pair of fangs snapped forth from the now splayed open wound. It hissed and bit at her left hand as it tried to lunge its way out of her bicep. Soon a green fleshy stem erupted from the stump, along with blood and gore and bone. The fuck? Axe shouted. On the end of the stem was a hand, a fanged hand with long nails and green rotting skin. The hand turned itself around to face Axe. As it did, it made a shadow puppet of a dog on the wall. Oh, I'm dreaming again, aren't I? Axe said to herself. Yup, the hand replied, moving its dog puppet mouth. How you doing? This is exactly like dreams. Hey, Axe, can I borrow your hair curlers? I lost some of mine and I need to finish this. Squib was cut short as the rotting hand grabbed him by the throat, causing some of his hair curlers to fall out of his, quote, hair. No! He gasped and he struggled to breathe as he tugged at the hand, trying to release himself from its grip. Axe shot awake with a gasp. Fucking weird-ass dreams, man, she said to herself. But on the other end of her new glowing green arm was Squib, still choking and spitting as he tried to reach down for the fallen hair curlers.
He had the hair curlers
which he was actually wearing. Let go, please, he choked out. Oh, Squib, yeah, sorry, dude, Axe said, but she still held on to him. Please, he choked again. Fine, Axe said, finally releasing him. Squib fell to the ground, gasping and rubbing his now red and bruised neck. So, about those curlers, he persisted. Ugla yawned and stretched her arms above her head. She had slept through most of the morning's excitement. At least they thought it was morning. Ugla sighed as she opened her pack and removed a comically large, cartoonish-looking mushroom. Who wants fungus and dirt for breakfast? Again, she said with a sarcastic, happy tone. You guys were eating fungus this whole time? Squib yelled. I've just been eating the dirt. How is that any different from any time in your life, you absolute walking crotch stain? Axe shot back at him. Damn. Someone woke up on the wrong side of the cave floor. Squib laughed. We need to figure out what we're doing down here, Axe said matter-of-factly. I can't stand another month of this. For all we know, it's been several months. We could be living a 48-hour schedule. Our skin could be turning into some sort of amphibious, homunculoid, light-sensitive, pale gray. I can't have my perfect skin be allergic to the upworld. I wonder if they still dance up there. You think people still fall in love and write poetry? I wonder if flying bone cars have been invented yet. Ugla chewed slowly on her morning fungus. She had heard some version of this complaining every morning for the past who knows how long ago these characters were in an episode. We're on the right track, Ugla said, still chewing. Her glare focused on the floor in front of her. She didn't want to admit it, but she too was sick of this underground mole life they had adopted. It was taking its toll on all of them, even Squib. All right, kids, I don't want you sitting around all day watching all C-ball. When I get home from work, I expect to see you have vacuumed and done all your chores. Mommy's got to go to work. Bye, sweeties, he said. He picked up a rock that he had made into a makeshift purse and walked 2 feet, pretended to open the door, and then pretended to open a bone car door, where he sat down on a rock and just stared silently for several hours. So anyway, how do you know that? asked Ugla. We're running into weird shit, Ugla replied. We know magic still exists here, and we're seeing its effects the deeper we go. Even you have your magic back mostly. Axe reflexively rubbed her new green arm. It shone brighter where she had touched it, but she still couldn't feel it in her brain. Oh my god, I'm going to be so late! A new annoying voice shouted from down the tunnel. Axe and Ugla looked at Squib, but he was still sitting silently, moving occasionally only to reapply some make-believe lipstick in his rear view. Suddenly, a rocky-looking reptilian ball rolled right past the party. It hit a wall and unrolled itself as it hit the ground. There, rubbing its head, was a small reptoid-like humanoid. In his hands was a small briefcase, and he wore a little bespoke suit. He blindly searched around. He blindly searched around with his hands as he found his monocle, and then rolled back up into a small ball. Wait! Ugla shouted at him. No time! We're gonna be late! He yelled as he rolled back down the tunnel. See? Ugla shrugged at Axe. Yeah, I guess. Hey, Squib. I mean, Mom. We gotta go. Axe shook Squib out of his fantasy. The three were soon running full speed down an unknown darkened tunnels and corridors. This way! Ugla shouted. This way, Ugla shouted as she slid down a fork in the tunnel. Her staff was lit up in its blue glow as it lit their way. Up ahead, they could hear movement. This better not be something stupid, Axe yelled up ahead to Ugla.
It is.
All aboard! Shouted another tiny reptoid man. He was standing on an ancient remains of a bone train. Its engine was the skull of a dragon, and its cars were a ramshackle amalgamation of old buildings and bone cars. Some were fused together mechanically, and others had been fused together by heat. Yeah, this is pretty stupid, Axe said.
Called it.
Last call for snake memento, aspen, piston, and parts unknown, the little conductor shouted. All around them, little reptoid men were busy bustling and hustling. Some had suits and cases and briefcases. The two mages towered above them. They couldn't have been more than 3 feet tall. Even Squib stood a good foot taller than most of them. You ladies boarding or what? Said the reptoid conductor. Yes, we may as well, I guess, Ugla said, looking back at Axe. Axe rolled her eyes. As they boarded, they had to duck below the smaller portions of the car, which was made out of an old bone bus. Luckily, the seats were human child size, so they weren't too small for the taller humans. Ugla sat down and looked across the aisle to see a child skeleton still sitting in the seat where it had presumably died millennia ago. Its twirly child's propeller hat still spun around as if no time had passed. A burly reptoid businessman swiftly knocked the skeleton off the seat and sat in its place. Hey, I was sitting there, said the Skella boy, with a heavy adult New York accent. Eat my egg sack, bone boy, the reptoid man said. Damn, Ugla whispered.
It's a rough neighborhood.
Yeah, you don't want to be here. Squib sat firmly squeezed between the two sorceresses on the bench-style seat, leaning leaving very little room for the fourth to sit on the seat. But that didn't discourage one very insistent reptoid as he squeezed his tiny reptilian body onto the end of the bench next to Axe. Axe rolled her eyes and, as politely as she could muster, scooched over a smidge to allow more room. The reptoid businessman took this to mean he could sit uncomfortably close to the Queen of Evil. Axe looked down and sarcastically smiled at the little creature. The reptoid businessman looked up at her as his little tongue slitted in and out of his mouth. With one motion, he placed a hand on Axe's knee. Axe turned her head so slowly that glaciers came and went before she locked eyes on the small gray hand on her knee. "If you don't remove your hand from my knee, your family is going to have to bury a stain," she said as calmly as possible. "Sup, babe," the reptoid said as he winked at Axe. Axewound's rage was well hidden. Having had to deal with Ugla and Squib these past few months had tempered her fury into a white-hot scalpel. She smiled at the reptoid and leaned over, licking her lips as she raised an eyebrow at him. The reptoid licked his lips in anticipation. Axe cupped a hand around the reptoid's ear hole and whispered something unintelligible. Ugla looked over to see what Axe was doing and tried to listen in, dropping all kinds of eaves. It was a good thing she didn't hear, because a second later the reptoid was laughing uncontrollably. He laughed until his sides hurt and tears ran down his face. Within a matter of seconds, his laughter had turned into a full-blown tearful cry, and a second later he began to wail in agony. He tore the skin from his bones and blood curdled in his mouth as he projectile vomited bile. Jesus. His eyes glowed green as they burned out of his skull. From the inside, he was vaporized into a shadow on the seat. Axe smiled politely and scooched back over to the edge of the bench. "Warned you," is all she said as she leaned back and closed her eyes. Hours passed as Ugla tried to look out the window. Outside was pitch black aside from the occasional mana spark that arced off the walls of the cavern. Must have been some kind of mole man driving this thing, Ugla thought. Must have been some kind of mole man driving this thing, huh, Axe? Ugla said, looking over Squib. Toward Axe who was sleeping. "Yeah, totally, good one," Axe replied, unmoving. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the train from the front. There's a malfunction. Ugla, Axe, and everyone on the train lurched forward as the brakes locked up, screeching and hissing and zapping. The bone train slowly barreled to a halt. "No need to worry. This type of thing happens. We'll be underway in a second," the conductor reassured everyone. The groans and sighs from the passengers echoed through the car. Squib looked over Ugla out the window as he saw lanterns moving in the darkness. I forgot I wrote this. They were attached to the heads of other reptoids who were wearing hard shells on their head and had pickaxes. As they marched alongside of the bone train, they began to sing. "Humming while we fix. We're humming while we fix. We can't whistle, so we hum. We could whistle, but that sounds dumb." "What in the Disney hell is this fuckery?" Axe said, opening her eyes and glaring out the window. "We aren't afraid of work, not like those lazy orcs. You know how they are. But at least we're not the dwarves." "Wow, that's pretty racist," Squib said, making a face. "They say we come from dwarves, but evolution is a lie made up by lib-cuck orcs."
I see what we're dealing with here.
"I'd rather die, get herpes in my eye, than be related to the dwarves."
Wow. This is why America doesn't have public transit system.
It's like I'm at home, man. It's like I'm back in my home state.
Fucking reptoids.
Yeah, I've done some highly questionable stuff in my day, but this is uncomfortable, Axe said, making the same face as Squib. "Attention, racist snake people of Tunnel 238! A loud booming voice echoed through the tunnel. On top of an overpass sat a mutated, horrible-looking creature. With a gun?
Oh, no!
We are the Frat Liberation Front, it shouted. Everyone who was working on the train stopped and looked up. They squinted their snake eyes and at this singular figure. For millennia have our ancestors, the frogs and rats, been at war. And for all those years, the reptoids had feasted on both of our ancestors. It was only when the Great Purge happened and mutated our two races into one did we see our differences weren't so different. The figure paced back and forth like he was doing a WWF promo.
Oh man, small world with these stories.
That's weird. Uh-oh. Only after our two societies merged did we understand the true strength of combining rat DNA with frog DNA. We can now swim faster with our web feet and fit through small doors we chewed out of the wall in order to kiss our frat wives after a long day of freedom fighting. Some of us rats have tails, like Jeremy. The figure motioned behind him with his thumb. Jeremy has a rat tail that spins around in the water when he swims, and it makes a putt-putt sound like a little motorboat. I don't know, maybe Jeremy's ancestors were also mutated with some kind of boat creature. Who's to say? The crowd of reptoids now began to wonder where this was going as they shifted on their feet and grumbled.
A lot of listeners to the podcast as well.
Right, well, you know. Jeremy represents the best of us, the figure shouted. I eat my own babies, a voice from the background shouted. Okay, maybe using Jeremy as an example was a bad idea, but you get where I'm going with this. Reptoids will pay for their sins. Attack, my comrades, the figure said.
Were the reptoids standing there the whole time?
Yeah, just listen.
That was a long speech.
Speech in quotes. All at once, a hail of gunfire erupted from the overpass as frog rat men launched an all-out attack on their mortal enemies, the reptoids, apparently. Axwin looked at Ugla as now Ugla rolled her eyes and shook her head. She simply shrugged as the two sorceresses used their magic to place shields around themselves, a blue shield around Ugla and a green one around Axe. Squib, noticing he was unshielded, yelped and quickly shimmied over to Ugla's shield just as a bullet hit the shield in the spot where he was sitting. All around, reptoids were being slaughtered. One reptoid was holding a train ticket out as if the fact that he had paid for a ticket would save him from this massacre. Seconds later, his hand was blown off in a hail of gunfire. Bone and blood sprayed on the train car window as the reptoid cried in agony on the floor. It'll grow back, relax, Axe said safely behind her shield. A second later, a bullet passed through the reptoid's head. It exploded out of the exit wound like a JFK pinata. Yeah, that won't though, Axe said, wincing. This is even stupider than I could have imagined, Axe said as she shot a look at Ugla. What? Ugla shouted, throwing her hands up. How was I supposed to know we'd wander into an endless blood feud of mutated halflings perpetrated against other mutated halflings? Wow, I definitely can read today. I don't even feel bad, Squid interrupted. Yeah, I mean, these guys were pretty racist, Axe agreed. Yeah, that song they sang? What was that about? Squib asked. Yeah, I don't know. But I feel kind of like if you're going to sing that type of song while you repair a train, you shouldn't be surprised when someone takes a shot at you. Ugla also agreed. Is this the first time we all agreed on something? Squib asked excitedly as he clapped his hands. Don't ruin this, Axe and Ugla said at the same time over each other. Well, Axe said, standing up, bullets ricocheting off her shield by the dozens. Shall we head out? Let's, Ugla agreed as she stood up in a hail of gunfire. In the aisle, a wounded reptoid businessman was dragging himself toward the back of the car with his one remaining arm. Axe and Ugla and Squib all stepped over him. Sorry, careful there, Ugla said as she sidestepped him.
Excuse me.
Coming through.
Out of the back of the car ran a skeletal boy with a propeller hat who swiftly ran up to the businessman and kicked him in the ribs. The reptoid vomited up blood and cried for help. Not so fucking tough now, are you, you snake bitch? The boy said as he laid a beating on this man so fierce they probably couldn't even show it on HBO after 9 p.m.
Skinemax, maybe.
The end.
Wow.
Wow.
The end, eh? I've never been jump scared by the end before.
First time for everything.
So you have this amazing talent of nothing really happens. However, so much happens at the same time, and it's so funny.
I like when things are funny when they're like regular things
Yeah.
that aren't like regular, you know?
Yeah. I get you.
Yeah.
That was
And-
funny as fuck.
We got like 40 of these to do,
True.
so whatever. I'll do what I want.
Yeah. Realist
We have
surrealism.
endless of these to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
we're never gonna stop.
No.
It's like hell.
Wow.
But pleasant.
Join our Patreon.
So it feels a little less like hell.
It's a Sisyphean nightmare.
That is true. It is a Sisyphean nightmare.
Yeah. No, I just was like, I'm gonna write the dumbest shit. I don't fucking care.
Yes, fair enough.
I
didn't-
took a similar tact this time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we all wrote dumb stories, let's just say.
That's good. Because the prompts were so good.
I
the
wrote
thing is-
I wrote a dumbass story that is technically supposed to be the last story before the break. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing next time.
But it's weird.
Next week you
Go on, Josh.
Yeah. No, you have real things to say.
Probably.
I don't know about that. It's weird that when we have stupid prompts, like clowns, like frogs, like, socks, we end up writing
They stick
good
around.
stories and stick around. When we have stories that we can actually do something with, we phone it in or we write the stupidest shit.
I think that's called oppositional defiance.
Oh, no, it's not, Jeff.
Gonna say that. No, it's not, Jeff.
sorry,
None of us have it.
So sorry.
Look, I'm getting
Evil Jeff sucks.
I'm getting sick and tired of being called out of my obvious disability.
I'm good, Jeff.
Anyway,
Good again?
that was
That's
really
something
good.
Evil Jeff would say.
That is something
Oh, no,
Evil Jeff.
it wasn't. You don't have to say that.
No, it was good.
That story. I thought it was
Yeah.
funny.
It was funny.
All right.
You revel in absurdity, which is a nice way of saying you're absolutely batshit insane when you write, which is good.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Reveling in absurdity.
Yeah,
You think I could tell my therapist that?
yeah.
I don't
Absolutely.
need your help anymore. I revel in absurdity.
Oh my God, I'm enabling
I can't pay
it.
for that. This is America. You think I can pay for that shit? Fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
This is your therapy.
Wow, that's very bad. That's not good at all.
You're my therapist. Can you prescribe me some drugs or something?
Man, I wish. I'll be using half that chit sheet myself.
Oh yeah, just get one of those things, those candies called that dots. They get the paper on the back.
Yeah.
You wind up eating like most of the paper. Just a drug roll of that, like whatever.
Isn't
Like
that what
Xanax.
Molly comes on? Like that same exact thing?
I don't know.
Is it? It
I
shows
wouldn't
how much
know.
I know about Molly.
I wouldn't know. I don't know anything.
Acid comes
sure
on
it's
little
not.
tabs, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's just the paper
Yeah.
though.
Anyway,
We're fucking adults. We're adults.
Yeah. What are drugs like?
yeah.
Are we really gonna need 8 balls?
Oh, on that fine note, we're going to take a not drug-induced break, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Enjoy this Fiddles and track.
Or else.
Highers. It's my turn this time, so we're going to head over to the Omniverse.
Wait, which one are you?
Bad Jeff.
Leroy Brown.
bad Leroy Jeff.
Right, my story this week is called Any Cop Story Name You Can Think of with Toilet Humour, such as Beverly Hills Cop, You Late, Turner and Gooch, Inside Your Mama Man, Slurpico, Slurpico, 21 Hump Street, The Defarted, wait, I have more, End of Watching Your Mother Get Railed by 10 Dudes.
That's a good one.
Schlong Baby Schlong, LA Confidential, and one more, The Chinatown.
Nice. We haven't even got to the fucking story yet.
I like how you just couldn't decide which one to go with, so you're like,
team
that's
ready.
the title, it's all of them.
It's all of them. Archie, get your handsome and grizzled yet oddly good and honourable ass in here, Chief Hoggs bellowed describedly.
Describedly?
Yes, that's right, we're starting strong, people. Detective Brad Atchie shot the boss daggers, not with the actual totally would work dagger pistol he'd blueprinted in a wonderful dream once, but with his eyes, stoic, deep, and soulful enough to make women wetter than an otter's taint.
Whoa!
Wow.
Did they get wet? Don't they have that fur?
Descriptive.
He uncrossed his legs from Officer Debbie Heaton's desk, who he'd been chatting up the whole week in an effort to make her whole week.
Oh!
If you know what I mean, you do, it's sex.
Slurpico.
Brad sauntered to the chief's corner office, swung the door shut behind him, and took up 40% of the room just by existing. You wanted to see me, Chief, he said, chest gleaming like a baby seal under a slightly too open shirt, his badge hung in the open space like some sort of disco medallion of justice. His jeans were tight enough to violate 10 decency laws, and he wore cowboy boots, even though he was born in Maine and had never seen a ranch. He had seen the Disney's Home on the Range, but like everyone else, he didn't care for it. Not really, Atchie, Hoggs muttered, peering over the top of his nerdlinger glasses. Even his eyes had given up, Brad thought, just like his waistline, his ex-wife, and his ability to sleep without tranquilizers and whiskey.
Even his eyes had given up.
That's fucking insane. That's a fucking sick burn, dude.
Fucking hell. All three of us wear glasses, by the way.
I'm gonna steal that.
I need an update on that double homicide down at the Tenderloin. Brad popped his boots on the desk. God, he loved those boots. Maybe he should buy a horse. I don't want to brag, Chief, but it's a triple homicide now. The perp tried to pull a knife on me, so I exercised my God-given, you mean city-given, rights as a man of the force. No, I said force, not hug technician, to ventilate him. By the end, he looked like Swiss cheese had turned to crime. Brad smiled the smile of a man who'd been sued 8 times and still came out looking like a model in an aftershave ad. Hoggs groaned, rubbing his temples like he was trying to erase the last 5 years Atchie had been under his command, then went to update the Days Without Potential Internal Affairs probe chart before realising he'd already reset it to 0 3 times today, because he managed police officers. ACAB, bitch.
Yeah. Is there a day that goes by? Yeah.
Damn it, Atchie, we were building a case here. You can't just shoot your way through due process. Sure I can, Chief. I used a shotgun. And also my badge, but mostly the shotgun. He leaned forward. You just
This badge?
You can't argue with science, Chief. It's not science, Atchie. It's a type of science, surely. Maybe political science? Brad corrected before he ran his hands through his thick blonde hair and tucked it behind his ear. Chief, you're going to dig yourself into an early grave with all these worries, and with your myriad of health problems, physical conditioning and poor cardio training regime, you'll probably drop dead before you even complete the job. Then think of your poor family having to finish up digging and then rolling your slobby carcass into the new muddy forever home. It just doesn't bear thinking about, Chief. Then stop talking about it, Archie. The Chief wheezed and stood, waddling over to the window. This city's going to hell in a cheap knockoff handbag. Murder, corruption, depravity. Brad appeared next to him like an oiled shadow. Where, Chief? Let me at it. Sit down, Archie. Damn, what am I going to do with you? Brad sat, unbuckling the top button of his jeans as a show of respect. Some sort of award, I assume. Hogg sighed. You're a liability. A lawsuit factory in tight denim. But my God, you do get results. So I'm giving you a new partner. A partner? Brad spat the word like it had turned up with an illegitimate love child asking for money. Impossible. He wore his jeans that tight to stop siring a child after that travelling fortune teller had told him that only his own progeny could kill him.
Wow. This is layered, man.
Listen, Chief, the first partner you lumbered me with transferred to a desk job in Alaska after getting shot because I didn't follow procedure. The next one went into witness protection to hide from me after I accidentally implicated him in a gangland assassination due to not following procedure. And the last one retired early. Wait a minute, why was that again? Because you didn't follow procedure when you filled out the HR forms and accidentally listed an academy graduate's age of 75 and the union used a loophole to get him a massive pension payout. It's no use arguing, Brad. She's already waiting outside, Hogg said. Brad narrowed his eyes. She? A woman partner for the biggest Lothario cop since Officer Romeo Bulgeworthy?
With a name like that.
For the last time, we've never had a Romeo Bulgeworthy on our payroll, Archie. Then how do you explain this, Chief? Brad pulled up his shirt sleeve to reveal a heart tattoo with the words Romeo Bulgeworthy inside. Are you saying Romeo was nothing but a dream? A feverish dream? A syphilis and cocaine-fueled feverish dream? Chief Hoggs blinked. Her name's Detective Eleanor Harris. She's got a reputation for discipline, intelligence, and doing actual paperwork. Oh, a virgin. Gotcha. What's she look like? Hoggs handed him a dossier. Brad flipped it open, then immediately leaned forward in a panic and said, I'm going to ruin this woman's life. The chief nodded solemnly.
At least he knows.
The reverse, actually. She's here to keep you in check. The chief's door opened without a knock. In walked Eleanor Harris. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. Hair tied back like she didn't have time for nonsense, which was unfortunate because Nonsense was Brad's middle name, because his mother was a dyslexic idiot and couldn't spell Norman.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
She clocked the rude, the posture, the feet on the desk, the fake tan, the problem of Brad Atchie. Detective Atchie, she said, extending a hand. I'm Eleanor Harris. I'm looking forward to working with you. Brad took her hand and kissed it and said, Likewise. I hope you've had all your shots, Harris. She didn't... She didn't blink. God.
It's so fucking inappropriate.
I heard there isn't a shot strong enough to hold against your litany of STIs, Atchie. He liked her immediately and was oddly proud of her statement. 2 days later, Brad Atchie strolled into the bullpen like he'd just headbutted crime into remission. His aviators were still on despite the indoor lighting, and his cologne hit like a court summons for Pepe Le Pew's multiple sex crimes. Eleanor Harris sat at their shared desk, already working, her expression a Zen painting of professionalism, if the Zen master was actively suppressing the urge to commit partnercide. Morning, rookie, Brad announced, tossing his leather jacket over the office plant. The plant shrugged and said, "It's a living." What flavour of urban rot are we sniffing out today? Please say blackmail and organ harvesting. I want to cap a fool and then say, that got to the heart of the problem. Eleanor, typing, didn't look up. Chief, dropped this on my desk. Thought we might want to take a look. Oh, I always want to take a look, Harris. That's how I got banned from the women's locker room. Twice!
Wait, how did he get banned twice?
He's persistent. She slid.
Did he get unbanned and then banned again?
I mean, maybe.
Double?
I don't know. I haven't had a look at his disciplinary record.
It's got to be two different locker rooms.
Yeah.
She slid a thin manila folder towards him. Brad opened it like it was a centerfold. Inside, mugshots and profiles of various convicts. All had taken part in a sentence reduction program through a private contractor. All had dropped off the radar post-release. No parole check-ins, no digital footprint, no angry social media statuses. Missing? Brad asked, raising a suspiciously sculpted eyebrow. Eleanor shrugged. Not officially. They were released. Families didn't file anything. Nobody cares. Brad narrowed his eyes. So they vanished, and the system just gave them a wink and a gift basket? Looks like. He flipped a page, pretending to read the details but just focusing on the name. Omnicore. Sounds like Dr. Doom's Etsy shop. Who's running this farce?
How does this jock know what Dr. Doom is? I'm completely taken out of this story now.
Eleanor, he's seen the films. Eleanor
out already.
Eleanor read off her screen. Dr. Lee Wen, a physicist with a stack of ethics waivers, and one Hank Roselar, some finance Patreon guy with enough offshore presence to qualify as a coral reef. Brad leaned back in his chair, which immediately squeaked like it was filing for harassment. Brad's jaw tightened. No parolees? No trail? No complaints? This stinks worse than my jockstrap after that leg day with justice program I run down at the Y to pick up lonely divorcees. His partner suppressed a smile. So you're saying it's suspicious? I'm saying this has alternate reality freak show written all over it, Harris, Brad said, cracking his knuckles dramatically. I'm going out on a limb here, but I think we're talking dimension hopping, soul swapping, morally bankrupt multiverse tourism. Are you sure you're not jumping to conclusions there, wank drebbing?
Wank drebbing.
He stood, already holstering his standard issue hand cannon. Jumping to conclusions is what separates men from boys, Eleanor. That and ball hair. Eleanor arched an eyebrow. So what is it you want to do? Brad nodded. I want to do an Atchi special. Go in deep. I'll pose as a prison volunteer. Let them show me their setup. Meanwhile, you get the chief to sign off forged documentation to get you in as a techie. If he asks where I am, fob him off with some cock and balls story. Cock and balls story, you mean? Brad winked. Not the way I do it, partner. Nothing too suspicious.
I can smell this guy through the story.
Yeah, it smells like coconut or something.
Nothing too suspicious. Maybe pretend I'm writing a report or something. The eyebrow raised further. That's so incredulous. He'd never believed that since he took away your crayons, Brad. Brad smirked. Then, I don't know, go talk to him about women's problems or something. He'll get in a flop sweat and let you do whatever you want so long as you get out and stop talking about periods. Not like an enlightened man like me. Say, how'd you get this file anyway if none of the families are squawking? She stood and grabbed her coat. Best bit, partner. An Omniverse employee came to us. Brad followed her down to the station car park, smirking all the way. He loved their dynamic. As they got to the car, Harris hesitated. You're really willing to risk your mind for this, Brad, if it's true? He winked. Harris, I barely use it as it is. The diner smelled like last night's coffee and disappointment, which to Brad was basically foreplay. He walked in like he owned it, which he briefly did during a police auction snafu in 2022. He thought that people were waving at the auctioneer and wanted to join in, so he didn't seem rude. He joined his partner in a booth by the window. "Eyes up, Harris. We're meeting our guy here," Brad said, scanning the booths like your mother hunting for virgins after 2 Long Island iced teas. "Sure, she'd regret it in the morning, but she lives with the regret of giving birth to you, so she'll survive."
Wow.
Yeah. That's true.
Don't just say the truth.
Eleanor sipped a decaf and looked at her watch. "Just please try not to scare him off." Brad put a hand to his chest, offended. "I don't scare people off, Harris. I exude trust and strength, like a shirtless fireman holding a puppy. Just like that charity calendar I did for the team." Brad, your idea of a casual disguise at this midnight stakeout is a leather trench coat and mirrored aviators. He opened his coat dramatically. "Not to mention no pants." Eleanor blinked.
Oh.
You're wearing 3 pairs of pants. He looked down and winced. "First lesson, rookie. Keep everyone guessing." So, how are we going to play this? Good cop, bad cop slightly attracted to the perp cop, shouting uncontrollably cop, and cop with psoriasis? How about I do my one-man performance of Hamilton I've been working on and you can just spin in a circle, really confuse him? She sighed, just as a twitchy man in a hoodie slipped into a booth opposite them. His eyes darted around like he was playing surveillance whack-a-mole. "You, Harris and Atchie?" he asked, voice low. A waitress came over and filled the man's coffee cup as Brad drew attention to them by whistling nonchalantly and very tunelessly. The waitress backed off, not breaking eye contact with the weirdo. "I'm the hammer," Brad said as soon as she was gone, slamming a fist on the table. "And this," he pointed to Eleanor, "is the slightly smaller feminine hammer with better people skills." Harris ignored him. "Mr. Klasky, we understand you worked at Omnicorp in technical operations." Lenny's hands trembled as he gripped his mug. Not anymore. I transferred to a blanket fort in my basement. No pension plan, but the only threat there is the black mould." Brad squinted. "We're told Omni's volunteers are going missing. No memories, no complaints. Sounds shadier than the foot-long shadow my penis casts. Talk." Lenny took a breath. They're using quantum neurological mapping. It lets them project consciousnesses into alternate versions of the subject, like puppets. "I love puppets," Brad said before his expression turned sour. "Wait, there aren't any clowns, are there? I hate clowns. After one murdered my parents and I swore vengeance. From that day, the city would know me as..." "Go on, Mr. Klasky," Harris interrupted. Lenny wiped sweat off his forehead. They told prisoners they'd only be used for a year and that they'd be asleep for it. No pain, no awareness. But they're using them for longer, way longer. Some have been under for years. Eleanor leaned in. "And the memory wipes you mentioned?" "Partial, incomplete. They come back blank, but..." Lenny gulped. They're starting to feel things, echoes, dreams that aren't theirs. One guy tried to tear out his own shadow, said it wasn't his. Brad whistled, and Eleanor's eyes narrowed. "Who's behind it, though?" Lenny looked around. It's Wen's tech, but Roslar, he's not right. He used to be a cutthroat finance bro, sure, but now, the last few times I saw him, he wasn't himself. Jittery, cold. I was convinced he wasn't even breathing." Brad blinked. "Oh, God, he's not a Carradine, is he? If I send CSI to another splooge palace, they're going to stop taking my calls." No, I mean, he really wasn't breathing. He was just standing there. His eyes were glowing. The air around him wasn't moving, like the movie The Mannequin, but if Kim Cattrall was trying to eat your soul. 80s Kim Cattrall could eat anything she wanted of mine, bucko.
I was going to say, does Kim Cattrall not eat people's souls? Not from what I heard from the cast of Sex and the City.
On speed dial with Josh. Josh is the third woman now. The third woman, the fourth woman.
I'm a Charlotte.
You're a Samantha.
Is that the slut?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep, sounds like we're dealing with a possession, Harris. Probably ancient, probably angry. Time to suit up, Padre. He pulled his Desert Eagle out of his holster and set it on the table.
Jesus.
Eleanor put her coffee down. I agree, Brad. We've got to go in. Brad grinned. Time to volunteer for some light, illegal, extra-dimensional espionage. My favourite kind. Lenny grabbed Brad's arm. Wait, if you go in, they'll wipe you too. You won't remember. You'll be gone, man. Brad stood up, chest puffed. You can't ever wipe out this? He made his pecs dance.
Jesus.
Eleanor nodded. I think we've got a few tricks of our own, Lenny. Brad reached for the check. Also, I just put this entire meal on your tab, Klasky. Consider it douchebag tax for being a douchebag and following orders. You douchebag.
Got him. This guy is definitely the alternate dimension Gauss feed splitter.
Brad stepped into the tech lab where dreams went to die and nerds came to pretend they had partners that lived in other states. The air practically crackled with static and social awkwardness, and Brad stood in the middle of the chaos like a golden retriever trying to understand a chess game. So, you're saying you can keep me from getting my brain scrambled like Grandma's eggs? Technician Arjun Avani rolled his eyes behind thick glasses. Yes, Brad, that's literally what we've been saying this entire 40 minutes. We've devoted our entire efforts to working on it. That and 3D printing new vending machine keys because you keep stealing them. Brad looked offended. That machine and I have beef. I had to get aggressive a few times. Because you keep mistaking it for the machines that sell those blue Zeus pills you're so fond of, Arjun muttered. Then waved a hand towards a gleaming chrome headset pulsing with soft blue light. We've modified a neurostasis retention device originally used for trauma victims. Yeah, we basically suspend memory to help recovery for victims. Isn't it cool that the SFPD were taken over by social workers when Trump had that heart attack on his first day in office live on TV when he sulked that Bruce Springsteen didn't like him. Then he died and everyone got wise to his shit and started making the world better, added Rosa, the other precinct tech, still holding a soldering gun and a half-eaten burrito.
We've got hurting us.
Why can't I be there?
Yeah, we've got a really good reality, all right, Harris muttered. I'd hate to be in one of the other evil ones.
This sucks.
We're
this is the worst episode.
All the evil versions.
This sucks. I hate this.
So, this headset works by creating a deep subconscious memory echo, Arjun explained. Even if they blank your primary cortex, this anchors you and brings you back. Brad looked at the headset. So I wear this and it brings me back from my own sheer awesome memories? Sort of, Rosa said. You'll remember a version of yourself we imprint beforehand, enough to resist the wipe. Like a tattoo, but mental, like a brain stamp. Harris stood by the door, arms crossed. But does it work? Have you tested it? Arjun hesitated. We tested it on a possum. It now speaks fluent Latin and has 10,000 followers on his makeup tutorial YouTube channel.
Speaks Latin. What?
Brad clapped. Well, if it fails, it's nice to know I'll have career options. He grabbed the headset. Let's cook this sucker up with the full Achi experience. Rosa frowned. Just in case something goes wrong, we can put some extra energy into holding on to some key stuff. What exactly do you need to remember? Brad puffed his chest. The code of honour. My unflinching gaze. My silk underwear preferences. Arjun sighed. All right. But understand, we can't guarantee full integrity. You could wake up thinking you're some dental hygienist from Nebraska. Brad shrugged. It wouldn't be the weirdest situation I've woken up in. Eleanor stepped forward. Can I speak to the text for a second? Brad wandered off towards the mirror to practice smouldering. Eleanor leaned in and lowered her voice. I need you to make sure there's a backdoor to this program. If it fails, I need some sort of kill switch for the program. I can't risk him flipping out inside the system. I might need to retrieve him at a moment's notice. Rosa raised an eyebrow. But that's not what he asked for. Harris's voice was cold and professional. Do it anyway. Tech shared a look and then nodded. Brad returned, still shirtless somehow. You kids ready to bake this brain cake?
Still shirtless somehow? He just didn't put a shirt on.
I think we know how.
Rosa handed over the headset. All set. Just don't take it off to stare at your own reflection halfway through. Brad nodded solemnly. That only happened twice, Rosa. He strapped it on and gave a thumbs up. Okay, let's go stick it to the memory vampires. Eleanor smiled just enough to pass for genuine. Yeah, Brad, let's. Brad actually had never trained his brain before. He trained his biceps, his triceps, his quadriceps, and once, through a misunderstanding with a Mexican customs officer, his Kegel muscles. But never his brain.
Wow.
That changed in the tech den run by Rosa and Arjun, part-time cyber sleuths and full-time weirdos. Arjun took the helmet off Brad. Name, Rosa barked. Detective Brad Atchie, he replied. Maverick, gunsmith, lover. Occupation, justice, and freelance moustache model. It's close enough, we got there. The machine hummed, and lights pulsed along his field of vision. Images of badge numbers, locker combinations, failed relationships, and his signature spin kick technique flashed by. They drilled him with audio cues, Arjun shouting from behind a glass partition. You're Brad Atchie, say it! I'm Brad Atchie! What do you hate? Soup! What do you love? America! Cliché log-fire lovemaking sessions and the sound a perp makes when they realise I've memorised Miranda rights in French.
Wow.
You know how I know this is fake? They still have Miranda rights.
Yeah, it's true. Meanwhile, Eleanor watched quietly, pretending to take notes, while Brad shouted about jazz fusion and how his blood type was raw testosterone. She looked at him. Really looked. Underneath the bravado, the perfectly trimmed stubble, and the cartoonish self-regard, he was trying. God help her, maybe even sincere. But orders were orders. Outside, Brad emerged from the machine and looked like a man reborn. I remember everything, he said, eyes narrowed. My first arrest, my first kiss, my second kiss, that one time I kissed a perp to establish dominance. Rosa handed him a card. Remember this. This is your anchor phrase. If you hear it, it should trigger your true memories, just in case. He read the card aloud. You're not just muscle, Brad. You're our muscle. That's the phrase? Arjun wrote it. Across the room, Arjun blushed as Brad tucked the card into his wallet next to a picture of himself holding a bigger picture of himself. Yes. Eleanor clapped him on the back. You ready, partner? He gave her a lopsided grin. Harris, I was born ready. Then I was raised ready. Then I spent a few years confused in puberty, and then I was ready all over again. Eleanor smiled tightly. All right, let's go. Omnicorp's lobby looked like every tech billionaire's wet dream. I chose wet dream as an analogy because without copious amounts of ketamine, a wet dream is the only way they can bypass all the guilt voices of the people they could help but don't and get it up.
Interesting.
Interesting if true.
Holographic trees lined the lobby wall, along with a receptionist who'd looked like she'd been printed from a best of Instagram filters 3D printer.
They sell those? Let me look that up.
Eleanor strode ahead in her Omnicorp uniform, sleek, sterile. Her ID badge read Dr. Helena Sell because Brad was in charge of ID and said that when you're working for a soulless mega conglomerate, you might as well sound like it. She flashed the ID to the AI receptionist and moved to the guarded lift down to the basement. Try not to act suspicious, she whispered without turning. Me? I look like an honest man doing his civic duty by volunteering to be mentally eviscerated, Brad replied, flexing his chained wrist as Eleanor handed over his forged ID. Bradison Ackington to the guard.
Oh my god.
Flawless.
Brad had picked his own false name too. Unsurprisingly, it sounded like a guy who would definitely try and sell you protein powder in a parking lot of a Denny's. The guard barely looked up. Sub-basement 21, room 14C. Orientation for the volunteers starts in 20. Brad leaned in towards Eleanor. Orientation? Like I tell all the women lucky enough to sleep with me. I know the moves, baby. We don't need foreplay.
Damn. Does that work?
Just shut up and act dumb. Don't worry. I was born to play this role, Eleanor. They stepped out of the lift, and she guided him down a corridor lit with soft pulsing lights, each door numbered and humming like it possessed secrets or a shitload of bees. Harris knew that every one of them had a person behind. It was humming. They had a person behind, blasted through the reality barrier into another life. I've just had a terrible thought. If I'm the best version of me, what hell am I going to walk into? There could be reality where I'm a virgin. Or married, Brad gasped. Oh my god, what if I'm a flat butt lover, Eleanor? She stopped outside the door. This is where we part ways, Brad. I'll monitor you from the labs as our informant's replacement. You just have to survive long enough so that we can discover something really stickable. You mean survive the neural bypass protocol installed via brain training and endless repetition of embarrassing memories? Yeah, exactly. If that works, you'll retain your mind inside the jump. If not, you'll come back like a zombie. He offered a tight smile and grabbed her hand. Eleanor, if I don't make it, tell Officer Debbie Heaton she can keep my nude pictures that she didn't ask for. The door opened with a hiss. A sterile holding room. Brad gave Eleanor one last thumbs up as her face vanished behind steel and sat. Then the lights dimmed and the world went black. 3 months later, Brad woke up on something that dug against his lower buttocks. It was either a medical gurney or a sexually aggressive IKEA table that wouldn't take no for an answer.
Do they sell those?
Yeah. You have to go to one of the really big stores.
Oh, that's what we have. One of those.
It's called a Bjorgen Jorgen, I believe.
Right. I looked it up.
Fluorescent lights hummed overhead like a choir of neon. His head throbbed as he filtered the memories of what he had just been a part of. He was a giant crocodile man, freedom fighter. It was cool, but he was glad to be in his own body again. A body sculpted of testosterone injections and repressed anger against his missing dad. Checks out. A voice floated through the fog.
Sometimes you're lucky you never met your dad.
A voice floated through the fog. Well. Detective Brad Atchie, the legend, the enigma, the man who, according to this report, once filed a hostile workplace complaint because someone brought in decaf coffee. Brad blinked the blur away. Sitting in the corner of this cold grey room was a man in a $10,000 suit and a smugness that his polo neck sweater did not warrant. Hank Rosalar. I, Brad stammered as he had been trained to, letting a thick line of drawl fall from his lips. Rosalar laughed. You can quit the act, detective. I know you've been resisting our mind wipes with your mental patches and your training. Don't lie. It just demeans us both. I've been waiting for you. Brad let the charade drop. Why? What could you possibly need me for? Rosalar leaned forward, and for a second Brad thought he saw something shimmering under his skin. You know, in every universe, every single one, Brad Atchie is some sort of investigator. Something within you at your core needs to find out the truth. It's probably why you beat me that time. Brad felt his eyebrow raise. I did? Don't ask me how. Hank breathed out in a scoff, or at least something wearing Hank Rosalar's face like a rented tux did. In other realities, it took them armies to bring me down. Or my own hubris. Or some imaginary Cthulhu-type dog. But you, a single police officer with more bravado than brain cells, beat me, the god of entropy, impromptu guitarist at parties, and immortal, integral misery of the omniverse.
I don't know which ones.
They're all evil. It's a riddle I need solved now. I The Technomancer have been reborn. Rosalar stood and moved into the light, shedding his skin, literally. The meat mask slid down like a wet overcoat, revealing a nightmare. Wires slithered and contracted like biomechanical snakes across a vaguely humanoid frame. Long black tentacles pulsed and hissed, forming a skeletal silhouette beneath a green hooded cloak woven from cybernetic circuits. The face, if you could call it that, was a chrome death's head, ram-horned and gleaming like some sacrificial idol in a post-apocalyptic Apple store. I have this universe's Tamir. It's Swiftfeather. It's Asher. It's Hallgrim. I have Mookies and Grissums and Buffcats and Ugglers and Jasons and... No, I don't keep any Pavlovs. They're detrimental to my programming. All the detritus that stopped my alternate selves in the past. The thing intoned, voice modulating like an auto-tuned funeral dirge. But I must know how. Brad tried to sit up but found he couldn't move. Not because he was strapped down, but because he was scared absolutely shitless. And also he was strapped down. The Technomancer glided forward, robes rippling with malicious data and black ink. Do you know how long I've waited to be free? To rewrite the code of my failure. To erase the laugh track sitcom of this entire pitiful omniverse. His wire tendrils spread, caressing the room like a lover. They thought me destroyed, Brad. Forgotten. Buried in a robot half a galaxy away. But Omnicore, it was the perfect shell. A business with no soul. Ideal for a being who devoured his own. Brad's brain whirred. Wait, you're telling me Rosalar was just your meat suit? Oh, I've been eating Rosalar from inside out for months now, the Technomancer said. He welcomed me, thinking we were kindred spirits, as if you could be kindred with the equivalent of a finger buffet. Now, he is part of me. His thoughts echo within mine like whimpers in a storm drain. You'll fail, Skellibor. My partner will come for me. A screen flickered on above them, and Brad's eyes flickered up. Eleanor stood in a lab, arms crossed, flanked by Omnicore guards. Her expression wasn't regretful. It was clinical. You were a useful data point, Brad, she said. Her voice piped in through an unseen speaker.
What the fuck?
We needed to know how much law enforcement knew about us. Embedding you 5 years ago was the best way to trace the information leaks. Turns out your stupidity actually helped debunk us. Brad's mouth opened, but nothing came out. It wasn't just betrayal. It was professional betrayal. The worst kind.
Damn.
You were never one of them, Eleanor continued. You were always one of ours. Your whole macho maverick routine, we scripted it. Monitored it, every bad pun, every suggestive eyebrow raise. We built the legend of Brad Atchie and flew it up the flagpole to see who saluted it. Brad's voice cracked through the fog. But I saluted it. I know, she said, and that's the tragedy. The Technomancer leaned in close. His breath smelled like ashes and burnt tarmac. You faked the amnesia protocols. Clever. But now, Detective Atchie, now, I bury you in truth. He reached out a single digit, a finger of coiled wire and alien alloy, and tapped Brad's forehead. Brad screamed as reality fractured around him. Not pain, not exactly. More like every version of himself across 1 trillion timelines suddenly getting their browser history deleted. Goodbye, Brad, Eleanor said, watching as the screen turned black. The room went quiet but for the hum of machinery and the subsonic purring of the Technomancer's contempt. But just before the feed cut, just as her image was flickering out, Eleanor leaned closer to the microphone. She whispered, so softly that even the machines might miss it. You're not just muscle, Brad. You're our muscle. Brad's eyes twitched. Somewhere, buried underneath synthetic memories and manufactured dreams, a door creaked open and their mind wipe malfunctioned with a fizz of static in his brain.
double cross.
Their phrase, a password to his real self. The lights dimmed and the technomancer had returned to his yuppie disguise. He turned to leave unaware. Brad Atchie was still in the room, and now he had work to do. Brad shuffled down the antiseptic white hallway in his regulation jumpsuit, head low, posture slack. He'd practiced the art of drooling just enough to blend in, and not enough to enchant any sexual deviance.
It's a fine line, man.
The orderlies, with their pearlescent eyes and their pocket-sized stun batons, gave him no more than a passing glance. Good. That meant he was still fooling them. This was what Omnicorps called the reintegration zone, a dormitory for the volunteers body-hopping across the Omniverse for a chrome-skulled psycho. There was a garden, there were yoga mats, there were jelly cubes in 6 flavours. It was hell with fluorescent lighting. Brad spotted the communal table, tucked under the ever-watching eye of a wall-mounted sphere that was basically a snitchy Alexa. 5 inmates sat at a table, each dressed identically, each poking their lunch with the same unblinking idiot stare. He sat down slowly, trying not to draw attention. The chair made a plastic squeak like a fart. One of the women smiled at the sound, but didn't say a word. A man looked up first, sour and scowling. He had a permanent squint like he was trying to remember the name of the guy who ruined his life. His fork trembled slightly in his grip, but his eyes, those eyes were razor sharp beneath the surface. Push this dead brain along, Jim. We've got planning to do. Jim pushed, but the muscly frame of Brad Atchie wouldn't budge. You'll have to do more push-ups than that to move Brad Atchie, stranger, Brad replied in his best lobotomized lilt. I thought you people were wiped. And we thought we were the only ones faking it, whispered Jim, sitting perfectly upright. How are you doing it? I had to get mental patches and code words, Brad whispered. Jim looked down at his jelly cubes. Keep your voice down. We're the 5 original volunteers. I don't know how we remember, we just do. This is Will, Aki, Maggie and Liz. Wait, I know you, Liz muttered. You busted some friends of mine back in the world. You're that psycho super cop. Brad nodded. Turns out that identity was just a fake-out. Doesn't matter now anyway, I guess. How long have you all been like this? We woke up post-jump about 3 months ago when shit started getting really weird, when Dr. Wen started pushing us further. We remembered everything, every word, every lie, Maggie sneered. Every death, Will muttered. I remembered a whole year as a cat, said Aki cheerfully.
That's awesome.
It was nice being flexible, but I can't get the taste of my own butt out of my mouth.
Oh, still pretty awesome.
Maggie stabbed her green gelatinous cube and said, "Oh joy, we're forming a ragtag team of semi-conscious jump victims led by San Francisco's least stable cop. That's not cliche at all." Brad turned to the final woman, pleasant, mild-mannered Liz, who looked up from her tray of jelly and nutrient paste with
a British thing.
That was with a serene expression. They think we're vegetables, she said softly, smiling, but we're seeds. A silence fell across the table, charged with something dangerous. Brad leaned in, dropping the dead-eyed stare. So, he said, we gonna burn this place to the ground or what? William smirked. Already started. Welcome aboard, detective. The end.
Oh,
Wow.
shit!
Fuck, holy
That was
shit.
really good.
So much happened.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This idiot he's going to save the day. Oh, God. Idiots always save the day.
Idiots
not-
are the greatest.
And he's not even really an idiot. He doesn't know what he is now.
He was just programmed that way.
He's a clown in
Boy.
Darrenos.
That sucks.
Yeah, the joke about him hating clowns because they killed his parents really got me good.
That was good. That was very good.
Yeah, thank you. I poured, just like a couple of weeks ago when I trawled my brain for every clown joke I knew, I think this was every cop joke I could possibly have done.
It was really fucking funny. And then
Good,
it was
I'm glad you
really
liked it.
scary.
Yeah. But,
Wait. Those aren't jokes. Those are what cops are like.
Yeah, that's true. Every anecdote about cops.
Every true anecdote.
So there's no Hank Roselaw anymore. Sorry, Henry Roselaw. There's just the
Sorry.
Technomancer. It's been eating him like a cancer.
The Technomancer's been dipping his little fingies in our stories too, apparently.
Yeah, get the fuck out.
Alternate. He's got this reality's Ugler, this reality's Buff Cat. I don't know how he's got a Buff Cat.
But is Buff Cat just a real chunky cat, like a regular cat?
He's a Maine Coon in this reality, and he's got
He does curls.
He's probably got a Jason and a Myrtle and all those sorts of people.
Get the fuck out of my shit, fucking Technomancer.
Get up off my fucking steez.
Get off my dick, Mancer.
But your casts must have beat him in some sort of reality somewhere.
That's true.
Probably took their schlongs out and beat him with it collectively, metaphorically.
But in reality, actually, as well.
But really, they did that, yeah.
He's only got canonically, he's only got a really badly sculpted mechanical wang that he did himself.
Oh, true. Man, I don't want to follow this story. What the fuck?
This is eerily similar to the things I hear about somebody else in real life.
Got your own Technomancer.
Oh, what, me? Huh?
What? What?
Right. So, we've got one episode left of this tale until the mid-season break, and one more episode of this. One more story in this episode. So, if you want to hear that, then you're going to have to come back in a minute or so after you've listened to a musical awakening by Vidison, and join us then. Bye.
Please.
It's like an aperitif, an ear-pertif.
Please come back.
Welcome, Squires, part 3. Only got one story left. I'm really sorry about that, but it is a good one. It's a Jeff special.
Don't put that on me.
He's promised that if it's...
I heard it's the best one ever written.
That's what he was saying in the break. He was saying it's the best he's ever done, and we suck. And
I was really hyping this up.
And if
he went on for like 45 minutes about this.
Yeah, I just had to start.
Like, why did
recording.
you guys even bother? Why did you bother writing a story?
Yeah, he said this.
He also said, if you didn't like it, you suck.
I did say if you two didn't like it, you could go fuck yourselves.
Oh,
I did say that.
That's real.
All of it's real.
The title of my story is The Colgate Variety Hour, sponsored by Enron.
That's really dating the episode here.
Part 1, The Wild Wild Pest.
Wiki.
A long time ago, far out west, depending on where you live, there was a crusty-ass, dusty-ass fuck bowl of a town called Throbwood. a Wild West locale filled to the brim with outlaws, horse thieves, murderers, and people who don't stop tweeting about Andor. The scum of the earth made their homes there, and there was only one man who stood between the pussy-ass normal townsfolk and total devastation. That man was seated on an old wooden chair at a rickety old table in the corner of the town saloon/whorehouse, which was called Josie's Discount Sluttery and Watering Hole. He had steely eyes, a lantern jaw, and legs that just don't quit. A shiny tin badge, a 10-gallon hat, and a 20-gallon codpiece.
That's a lot of numbers going on.
With his watchful eyes ever unclouded by the whiskey he poured down his open gullet like your mom chugging a dick like a Budweiser, he was the law around these parts. And he was known by a name that struck fear into the hearts of ne'er-do-wells from here to the gas station on the way to the next town. That name? Sheriff Thick Whipple.
Whipple.
Sheriff Whipple! Sheriff Whipple! A nasally little fuckboy virgin voice hit his ears like a big hork of blork that hits a shiny new spittoon. But not beautiful and harmonious like that at all. Is that a good metaphor?
Yeah.
Through the swinging saloon doors came stumbling and fumbling the town dipshit, Hump Duggerly. You see, he was named after his papa Duggerly's favorite thing in the world. It was bitter irony the son would never even see a titty, let alone get to hump. The fuck do you want, Hump, you little pud puller? Whipple grunted out between sips of his whiskey, which was literally on fire from how hot it was, but he just let it burn his lips. I'm sorry to disturb your drinking a nice refreshing fire, Sheriff, but Dumper Douglas is back in town. Hump hollered out like a real bitch-made bitch. He says he's fixing to put one in you, and I don't think he means your butthole this time.
Not this time, no.
Let him come try his luck either way, Whipple said, downing his burning glass of liquor just as the heat caused the glass to burst all over his face, just like your mom likes it. But like when it's a dick. Come, I mean. You know what I mean, damn it.
Not a dick bursting.
Stop yelling at us, Jeff.
Just then, the double saloon doors opened once more, and backlit dramatically by the 130-degree sun outside, in stepped a hulking figure dressed in all black with a jaunty neckerchief. Everyone in the bar gasped at the sight of him. It's me, he began. Then every single patron in the bar screamed out at once, Dumper Douglas! Douglas paused a moment and looked around with an eyebrow cocked. Right. And I'm here too. Again, every patron in the bar screamed out, Get revenge! Douglas grunted, glaring around the room, then continued. I'm a-calling you out. Sheriff Whipple! The crowd screamed in unison. Shut the fuck up! Douglas screamed, annoyed, then yanked his gun out of his holster, letting rip a bullet straight up into the air to silence the crowd. And it worked. Deep silence falling over the crowd for the moment. Then the floor upstairs gave way, a man falling straight through where the bullet hit and landing on the floor dead in a pile at Douglas's feet.
All it took was that to guy. Fucking, this place needs to be condemned.
The man's pants were down around his ankles, and his hard dick was slowly deflating like a balloon, even doing that whoosh sound until it dangled limp between his legs. There was another moment of silence, and then the crowd began to slowly and politely clap. Douglas crossed the room in no hurry, slipping his pistol back into its holster and doing a bow-legged cowboy walk that rivaled your nasty whore moms after a weekend-long bender with your neighborhood intramural basketball team while your dad had custody of you. Now you're gonna, Douglas began, but Whipple simply drew his 6-shooter and fired off 3 shots to cut off his speech, right through the center of his forehead in perfect grouping. Then, without a word, slid his pistol back into its rightful place on his hip. Douglas heavily fell over onto the floor with a deafening thud, followed by 2 innocent bar patrons who had just happened to be standing across the room against the wall behind him, who hit the floor dead as well. A
Place of doing business.
pregnant pause filled the air, followed by the bar patrons politely clapping for Whipple as well. Wow, Sheriff, you really... Hump began to praise the sheriff, but Whipple drew his gun out of his holster, causing the young twerp to begin rapidly backing away from him with his hands up. I'm leaving. I'm going back to my cage. As Hump ran out, in walked a radiant vision of loveliness that Sheriff Thick Whipple had had his eyes on for some time since he took up office in this town, however long ago is believable for this story. Who cares? She swayed side to side like a really fuckable grandfather clock arm. Her hips hugged at a tightly fitting corset that had them titties pouring out the top of it like whitewater off Niagara Falls. God damn! Her ass was like, alright, like 7 out of 10. She probably had like black hair or something. It doesn't really matter. Please feel free to submit this part to Women Written by Men Tumblers, because it absolutely deserves it. If it ain't the loveliest whore in the whole whorehouse. Good morning, Miss Cunny, Whipple said with the doff of his gigantic cowboy hat, revealing the hair underneath was the exact same shape of his hat, like when Wolverine takes off his mask. He then returned the hat pretty quickly. Why, Sheriff Whipple, you sure do know how to flatter a beautiful whore, Miss Cunny Deephole said with a flirty lilt in her voice, rolling her shoulder like women who were supposed to be sexy were always doing in those old movies. What the fuck was up with that? Anyway...
Dude, you got to see some bare-ass shoulder. That's what's up with it.
You popping by for some early morning gut rearranging, sweetheart? I got just the tool for the job, Sheriff Whipple said with a grin across his rawhide catcher's mid-ass face. And by tool, I mean my dick. The crowd politely clapped, having been watching this like a Maury Povich audience. One guy in the back went, ow! I'm afraid not, Sheriff. I came to tell you that the meanest, roughest, most hateful hombre that ever stepped foot in Throbwood is back in town and looking for blood, Miss Cunny said, expositionally. Yeah, I just shot him. Whipple pointed towards Dumper Douglas's dead body on the floor in a heap. The man's gigantic ass was pointed straight up in the air like two full-sized hams smuggled under his pants, still jiggling from the bullet shot that hit him 5 minutes ago. The crowd, realizing suddenly why his name was Dumper, all went, oh, and clapped politely once more. Not that red-ass baboon, honey, Miss Cunny chided, her breast bouncing boobily. It's none other than Levi the Horse Fuckerson and his petroleum jelly gang. The crowd gasped in unison. Can you please fuck off for like 5 fucking minutes? The gag is done. It's over. We're past it, Whipple grunted out, standing up from his seat and placing his hand on his gun at the crowd. Some people in the crowd groaned and groused, but they all turned back around in their seats and went back to drinking and playing cards. The man at the piano began to play a beautiful arrangement of My Neck, My Back by Kia. I ain't afraid of
I would love to hear that.
I ain't afraid of the horse, Whipple stated plainly. He can name the time and place, the old nag fucker. Well, you might as well do it right now. We're already on page 4, and this is supposed to have 2 stories in it, so... Miss Cunny trailed off. You're right, my dear. Let's go outside and gunfight him real quick before we encroach on the Johnny Long thing that follows this, Whipple said with conviction, heading out the swinging saloon doors and into the blinding light of the street. Miss Cunny followed suit, popping open a small parasol to keep the 90% of her tit flesh that was showing from burning in the sun.
That's a lot.
As you can imagine, 3 men already stood at the other end of the dusty dirt street that run down the center of Throbwood. 2 in the back were nondescript evil cowboy types who looked like they never bathed and were missing a few teeth, which is honestly how everyone would look in this time period, given that dentists were just surgeons who yanked your shit out whenever you had any problem. We don't want to, but we as the audience don't want to be looking at that shit for like a whole movie, so it's only these 2. I mean a whole story. But the man in front was unmistakably Levi the Horse Fuckerson. He stood about 7 feet tall, his head held high with a gambler's hat slung down low over his eyes. He wore a fine suit with a bandolier of bullets across his chest, along with a droopy bolo tie and a gun belt thrown around his waist. Below that, he wore nothing. Not a scrap of clothing covered his bottom half, because his bottom half was a horse. He was a centaur. I bet you thought his name was the Horse Fuckerson because he fucked horses, didn't you? Well, fucking shame on you, you gross-ass bitch. He do be fucking horses, though, but that's unrelated. And probably okay. I don't really know the laws on that, especially in the Wild West. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. The horse.
Who knows?
The horse, a clomping centaur with a gun belt tied around his waist, which is also the horse part of his body's neck, stared with squinting, hateful eyes at Sheriff Whipple as he stepped out onto the street, letting a gust of air escape his nose and going, because he's half horse, as I may have mentioned before. I thought I told you to never show your face in this town again, fuckerson, Whipple said, placing one hand on that thang he be keeping where his hip be at. I wasn't just horsing around. The bar patron, still inside and hidden from view, clapped politely for this joke. I'm back to stomp all over your dumb ass with my horsey hooves, Whipple. And I aims to see it done before I eat my oats for the day.
God.
He's really leaning into this.
You see, I done been reborn in the eyes of Jesus Christ our Lord, so I'm free of all my sins.
Centaur Jesus.
I can do as many more sins as I want now, Horse grunted in return, slipping his hand around the pistol in his gun belt as well. I also aims to take back Miss Cunny and give her some of this here horse cock she'd been missing. She don't want to go with you, Horse. She got all the dick she could handle right here with old Whipple, the sheriff gloated back. It's whatever, Miss Cunny interjected. Not really caring where the dick came from, as long as it came out the front, if you know what I'm saying. There was a deep silence that befell the main street of Throbwood in that moment. Both men stood poised to clear leather and fire at any second. Miss Cunny finally realized she was standing like right next to Whipple and would probably be shot at any moment, and decided to walk back across the street and stand in front of the saloon. I didn't forget. A tumbleweed fluttered down the street on the wind poetically, before bouncing straight up into Whipple's dick and catching its thorn on his cock and balls, lodging itself pretty well perfectly in place. Whipple didn't even fucking flinch.
Jesus.
Doesn't that hurt? Horse asked, genuinely surprised at disgust that it would just happen. Yep, Whipple said flatly. The silent tension returned. Both men, though one was of course half man, half horse, stood ready to do the other in for good this time.
Of course. How could we forget?
The wind whipped around the dust in the street. Eyes stared, wide and terrified from the shadows of doors and windows. The silence was palpable. Bang! Sheriff Whipple fell to the ground onto his knees, the pistol in his hand hitting the dirt as it released from his grip. He knelt, stunned, his dick being torn to shreds by a tumbleweed, before he finally face-planted into the dust, dead on the spot. Thick! Miss Cunny screamed out, throwing a hand up towards him in desperation. Lol, fucking noob, Horse said with a laugh. Then he hunched over sideways and fell into the dirt on his big ol' horsey body, like when Spock punched that horse in Star Trek V, except it's a centaur this time. Fuck, Horse groaned out. I'm dead. Then he died. His two companions shrugged at each other and then walked away. Well, shit, Miss Cunny said, placing her hands on her hips. Now I got not a one dick to fuck me tonight. This is a dilly of a pickle, or the lack of one thereof. From behind a barrel off in the distance hopped a little weedy wiener of a fellow who we all instantly recognized as Hump Duggerly. He was holding a rifle over his shoulder that had smoke coming out of its tip. He made the distance up between himself and Miss Cunny in an instant, wrapping an arm around her waist. "Technically, I won that gunfight, Miss Cunny. How's about I take you upstairs and show you just why they named me Hump?" the little shit said with a little shit-eating grin. $40, Miss Cunny said flatly.
Wow.
"I'll pay you whatever you want and my eternal living soul for 5 minutes, Hump returned, dropping all pretense of bravado. "Fine," Miss Cunny said flatly once more. "Yee-haw!" Hump yelled, leaping into the air and throwing his hat up towards the sky into a perfect 70s TV show freeze frame. End of part 1.
Okay.
Part 2, number 1 with a bullet. Johnny Long pushed his fork into the dry gray mass of instant mashed potatoes that was still mostly untouched on his plate, not being accustomed to honky food. His eyes darted around the room at the gathered family whose meal he had crashed and their individual reactions. Dr. Robert Brooks was glaring at him with veins bursting out of his forehead and neck like a fully roided out, coked up 80s Macho Man Randy Savage, his teeth clenching hard enough to hear around his fork as he took bites of his bland-ass meatloaf. His wife, Mrs. Margaret Brooks, was side-eyeing him with a certain... side-eyeing Long. I wrote me. Damn. We're breaking the fourth wall.
Freud. Yeah.
His wife, Mrs.
Never done that before.
His wife, Mrs. Margaret Brooks, was side-eyeing Long with a certain fear behind it, trying to keep conversation going about how well her daughter had been doing since she returned home, and how his services were no longer needed. Really trying to get him to leave as politely as she could. She was probably mostly thinking about whether the cops she called on him would shoot him or not, and whether that would make a funny story at bridge night or not. Their youngest daughter, Evelyn, was staring up at him from underneath her eyebrows in a full-on Kubrick stare, barely blinking through her heavy pancaked-on goth makeup. She had barely said a word all night, and hadn't said a single one that wasn't accompanied by an eye roll. But what was keeping Long there the entire time, even though this was some of the shittiest cuisine he'd had since kid cuisine, was Madeline Brooks, who sat serene and smiling at the table next to him, dutifully eating her baked slop without so much as an interjection since she had arrived. "So that's why it's all fine, Mr. Long," Mrs. Brooks said with a plastic smile plastered onto her face, tapping her fork onto her plate for emphasis. "Madeline is doing so well in school now. She's so happy to be home, aren't you, dear?" "Oh, very much so," Madeline returned politely with a wide smile. It was like something out of the Stepford Cuckoos, and it made Long's skin crawl a little. From the corner of his eye, he could see that it was making Evelyn uncomfortable as well. I do apologize for my intrusion," Long said distantly, feeling every nerve in his body screaming out for a cigarette and a long night's sleep, but fighting the urge as well as he could. "Like I said, I'm off the case, and I have been for a while. I just wanted to step in and see how everything was going. I'm really happy to hear Madeline has adjusted so well from her ordeal." Madeline smiled that empty smile at Long, and he grimaced inwardly, trying not to let it show on his face, though he had trouble. He was honestly having trouble dealing with the veneer of normalcy altogether after what he'd seen and experienced less than an hour before. He still couldn't explain it, and had stopped trying. Now he was just trying to pretend like it never happened. "Look, Long," Dr. Brooke hissed through gritted teeth, trying to keep his wife from stopping him from being too angry. "You're obviously here to force more money out of us. We've already paid your company the exorbitant fees you harangued us with. All you did was do what the police should have done to begin with, and then you acted like you were owed even more by coming here? It's disgraceful. You're barely better than an Italian."
Whoa!
"Robert!" Mrs. Brooks tried to chide him, but he paid no attention, still staring directly down the barrel at Long. "I was literally just here to check up on things. Are you deaf from so many years of shoving your head up strange twat, doctor?" Long said, with his own frustrations growing kind of difficult to deal with. The truth was, he didn't have a good reason to be here at all. "You've obviously not been doing the same for your wife when you get home, that's for sure. She's probably got more hardware in her bedside table than you've got in your entire office to make up for it." "Out! Out!" Dr. Roberts sprung up to his feet and motioned violently towards the door with his outstretched arm over and over. "Get out of my house and never come back!" Mrs. Brooks leapt to her feet as well, trying to coerce Dr. Brooks to sit back down as best she could, but he kept screaming over and over for Long to leave. The younger sister Evelyn was laughing, her hands over her mouth and her chin down on the table, trying not to be seen as enjoying this as much as she was. But Madeline Brooks just sat emotionlessly, staring at Long. He wasn't preoccupied enough with being screamed at to not notice. There was a blankness behind her eyes that, for some inexplicable reason, made Long instantly remember the overwhelming emotions of finding her body hanging from the top of a mast earlier that day, and whatever kind of horrible hallucination he had suffered. "I said get the fuck out!" Dr. Brooks stepped around the table, squaring his shoulders and reaching out to grasp onto Long's leather jacket lapels. But he simply pushed the older man's hands away and slipped up to his feet from his chair. I'm going," Long said, resettling his lapels into place even though they had barely been touched. He turned to lumber towards the front door, passing dozens of photos of the Brooks family as he went. He couldn't help but notice the strange, serene look that had been on Madeline's face that entire night wasn't reflected in a single one of those family photos. She honestly looked pretty moody in most of the candid ones, and seemed to be giving a fake bright smile in the professionally taken ones. He noted that mentally as well. Through the front door he went, out into the soft chill of the spring night that awaited him. He shoved his hands into his pockets and took the cement steps down from the front door towards the sidewalk 2 by 2 to hasten his retreat from this obvious defeat in his investigation. But he quickly noticed the sound of steps following him almost as fast and twice as heavy. Quickly spinning around on his heels and readying for a punch to come sailing at him, Long was pretty surprised when he was face to face with the little sister, Evelyn Brooks, instead of her father's fists. Her heavy goth boots had been making the sound. Can I help you?" Long asked. "Yeah, sorry to go totally stalker on you, but, no one has ever stood up to my dad like that, and it was so sick, guy," Evelyn said without much inflection, as is the goth girl way. It's fine." Long began to turn away, but Evelyn grabbed him by his jacket sleeve. "Wait, it's... She looked back up at the house and then back at him. "I just wanted to let you know that, you might think I'm nuts, but..." She had genuine fear on her face as she looked back up towards the house and then back around at Long a second time, her breathing become somewhat shallow and her voice lowering a ton. "That girl in there?" She pointed back up to the house with a shaking finger. "That is not Madeline. I swear to you, that is not my sister." There was a decent pause in between them. The sound of a siren in the distance lingered in it, but neither said anything for 5, maybe 10 seconds. "I believe you, actually." Long finally formulated the correct words. "Believe it or not, I think you're right." There was another long pause as the siren seemed to get ever so slightly closer, maybe. Evelyn looked shaken, but there was comfort in his words, and it showed on her face. Even through the black and white film of makeup. "Thank you," she said, before turning away and running back up the steps and through the front door with a smooth yank open and a hard thud closed. Long's eyes turned to the side of the door, to the large bay window in the front of the house, and met Dr. Robert Brooks's eyes staring back at him with his jaw clenched. He threw the curtain closed instantly when he saw himself spotted. "Well, that's probably not good," Johnny started, but couldn't finish. All he heard was a deafening bang. The world was suddenly blood red, and the ground came up at him so fast that he could barely register his face planting hard into the concrete and sending a spray of blood up into the air like a fountain from the strike. He couldn't think. He could barely move, as the inky blackness overwrote the red which stung at his eyes and ran down his face. All he could feel was a cold numbness which seemed to spread from a wound he couldn't see, could barely feel. But he knew one ultimate truth in that moment before he slipped beyond the consciousness. Someone had just shot him. The end.
No! It was the little sister. She went upstairs to get her Glock and she blatted it.
I think it was horse.
Horse came back.
Horseman. I that first part of that story, man. What the fuck?
When I was thinking about this story, I was like, I have to continue the Johnny Long bit. Like, I left the last story off on like a sniper setting up across the street.
Yeah.
I have to continue that, but I have no jokes for this. You know what? I'm just gonna do a Western.
Dude, it's so fucking funny. Like, holy shit. I was crying. I was literally crying.
It's like someone started on the wrong channel.
Yeah.
I did have a page in the middle of me waking up on the couch and realizing that the Western channel was on, and I still needed to write my story.
That's awesome.
But I couldn't do the transition correctly, so I just cut
Western channel. Oh my god. So good. That was great.
It was great.
That was so good.
No notes.
I told you it was stupid.
No, it was so perfect.
It was good.
As the audience may be able to tell, I thought that this was the last episode before the break. So
That's okay. It's all right.
I mean,
we'll see what the fuck I do next time.
yeah.
Just stick with the Western again.
See what the prompts are. We might have an absolute terrible glut of
The next prompts are horses and sheriffs.
Horses and centaurs.
Oh, it was excellent.
Oh, God.
That was
That's
excellent.
great.
That first
Thank
half
you,
made me
thank
laugh
you.
so much.
Dude. So
Just
dumb.
wasn't expecting
So
it.
good.
Oh, right. Okay. Let's close the cover on this week's stories and load up the prompt generator. First one is... Right, okay, the wheel's stuck. There we go. It's spinning now. Deities by Surely Not Unique.
How you spell
Deities.
Deities?
Deities.
Deities.
Holy shit, that looks wrong to me, but I believe you.
If you say deities, it looks right.
Yeah.
Well, I have like IE dyslexia, so like I wrote deities first.
Well, I did.
Too, actually.
That is how I pronounced it. No, I didn't. I said deities.
No, you said
You
deities.
you said some weird English word I didn't quite get.
Okay. The next one is
Snogging.
Delusions by Frog the Scribe.
Oh man, well this one should be easy because that's every episode, right, guys?
Delusions of Grandeur. Oh shit! I've put away my notes. I need those.
Yo, this is the Double D episode, baby.
Hell yeah. At least it's by two different people this time, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Frog the Scribe and Surely Not Unique. So they will be the last prompts from this round of prompts. I'll be putting out a new post about prompts, and you can put more prompts in the prompt post. Prompt.
Can you say prompts a few more times?
Prompt.
If you heard those prompts and you were like, I can do better than that, I'm the king. Well, first off, put your money where your mouth
I'm the
is.
king.
Yeah, put your money where your mouth hole is.
Yeah, and go to patreon.com/storylords, and you can, for $5, essentially, you get access to the Discord, you can suggest prompts, you can read the stories, you get an Afterlords free every month or 2 months, I can't remember what the timeline was, and then you also have the opportunity to up your pledge at any time, and for $10 you can get access to Redesign by Committee, more Afterlords.
We just did one where I got really mad about stuff.
Yeah, you did, which is coming out soon. It's the maddest I've ever heard Josh. It was very
By the
funny.
time you listen to this, it will be out already.
So mad.
$10 patrons can go over to go listen to that. Go over? Why are they fucking going over? Go over to your computer and load up.
Yeah.
But you also get access to Redesign by Committee, Jukebox Confessional, and In Layman's Terms, which we're going to do a recording of soon. And then for $25, you get all that, and we're doing a quarterly something.
name.
Which one?
All of them.
Oh.
Yeah, everything we've ever done. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. And then we do a quarterly something. It might be a writing workshop, or it might be a come watch us play Jackbox, or...
Watch Josh sleep.
sleep cam. And then If you're a $69 patron, you get a weird name and our undying love.
We should make badges or like buttons or something.
Yeah,
and
we
just
should
make
do.
them for them.
We should do. They should get like a free
Send it to
T-shirt
them.
or something.
No, if like we did like badges or something and like gave them to them digitally, and then they can like fucking print them out and make a mask. That's fine.
Or a crown or something. Like a Burger King crown, but it's
The Lord's
way,
Lord's crown.
way cooler. Yeah. It says my liege and like Comic Sans on it.
It says you tried with a star in Comic Sans.
I have a patch that says that.
So, what do I do next? Big thanks to Vidizen for the use of his music throughout the episode. You can find information on Greg at vidizen.card.co and information on his band Santosha.
Santosha.
You got it.
Yeah, what's the Tears Asunder? Drops Asunder?
Collecting
Remember-
Sonder.
Collecting Sonder.
Why did I think it was Tears of?
It's because
You
the
probably
cover
cry.
Yeah,
has
that's
the
it.
cover has like rain on it.
Oh,
the cover
maybe.
of
Yeah,
the image.
and you cry tears of joy when you listen.
Well,
to
but
it.
but
it's so
also
sick.
when I listen to like I don't know the names of albums or songs anymore because of because of
Spotify.
Yeah, like you don't do that.
It just plays.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been getting more into the names of like albums and songs.
Oh, here we go, Mr. Oppositional Defiant.
How dare you say something I disagree with?
Oh, Reginald, I disagree.
When I was, this is like a little story about how great Greg's music is. I was driving back from the store night before last, and it was sunset, and the sky was like pink and orange, and his album from his Vidizen named Juliet,
Yeah,
the song
that
Juliet
yeah.
played, and it was like a perfect scene out of a fucking movie.
I love that.
He can make the
love that
soundtrack
about
of your life, man. He's so fucking
He pretty
good.
much is, you know? He does all of
Yeah.
our music, so
I had to
fucking-
like text him and be like, "Yo, you'd make the soundtrack of my fucking life," and he was
Send
like,
him-
"Stop calling me."
Write a track.
Stop sending me shirtless pics.
Write a track for when Jeff touches himself.
He already did.
It's called all of them.
So, Storylords is now on YouTube. Our super fan John Anderson, Prince of Uploads, is uploading an episode every week, I think.
Me uploads.
My liege uploads.
So thanks to John, you're a true hero. You can find out anything about Storylords at storylords.page or storylords.card.co, or you can just, if you join the Patreon, you can just ask us direct on the Patreon. On the Discord, sorry. Or the Patreon. Right, have we got any reviews this week?
No.
Okay.
But I think it's important to like highlight the fact that we do have a Discord for our patrons, which is full of like some of the coolest people you'll ever fucking meet. There's like a writing club where people are like writing their own Storylord stories using the prompts and like sharing them with each other and like boosting each other up and stuff.
And they,
There's like a really active drawing channel for people to like post their art and like do little like things together, and they're gonna start doing those little like simultaneous art canvas type games where like you can draw on the same canvas together. They're gonna start doing that soon.
we got some really talented artists in there, like Hoobs and Nate and Bractor. I mean, just genuinely really good artists in there. I can almost
Rich Masters.
Yeah, did you see my? Well, of course you guys did. My dog piece, my dog Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. I am so proud of that.
Watson dog be much cuter.
When I made him a proper pug rather than a cartoon
I
pug.
kind of liked when he was grumpy.
Yeah.
I did like the cuter one. I'm on the opposite side. I'm on the opposition.
What a
of Defiance.
surprise.
Right, I'm going to read the Patreon fans. So big thanks to King of Patrons, Resident Technomancer Henry Roselar, and Stephen, Concubine of Patrons, All Out Whore, They are our 2 big tier patrons. We thank you immensely. It's very, very generous of you. But
You 2 rule. Everybody else less than you.
yeah, they do literally rule the land.
That's true.
But our second top tier patrons, Anthony Stoker, Chris Balso, Federico Rodriguez, Gordon Ream, Granola Daniels, Heath Robinson, Jake Anderson, Pez King, Rena Kemp, Sean Tabor, Squid Ludwig, Werewolf Bar Mitzvah. That's it. Sean Tabor. I haven't seen Sean around for ages in the Discord.
Fucking-
Where you been,
these
Tapes?
These people rule,
Yeah.
dude. Holy shit.
Yeah. Holy shit.
And they've been top tier patrons for a very, very long time as well, the majority of them. Right, so... And then I'm going to call out one
the
random...
kings and queens
I'm gonna call out...
Storylords.
I'm gonna call out Bractor. Because Bractor has been a patron since November 20th, 2022. And is always really active, just does amazing art, lots of fan art as well, which we haven't got. Go on.
No, we haven't got a lot of fan art in a while. I will say, Bractor became a patron 2 months into this show existing.
Yeah.
So,
Bractor!
It's crazy.
hell yeah.
So thank you. What else have I got to talk about? Now, nothing. So next week...
Sundowning. He's sundowning.
He's undone it. Yep.
What?
Huh? Where am I?
So...
Welcome back to Bros Before Bros.
Look, I had to get one thing wrong. Deities and Delusions next week, which will be our last episode before the mid-season break. So I say that more to my fellow hosts than to the audience to remember.
I remembered.
So leave your stories on a cliffhanger, or don't. Maybe do a Scrabbles Dance sequel. Who knows?
Hey, just be fucking patient, all right?
He's coming back. We swear.
I swear.
Thank you as always for listening and supporting us. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
We'll be back in 2 weeks for 3 more stories to tempt your little wet ear holes. I don't know why I said wet. Bye.
Bye.